YouTube, Rook here from Rook Geek Goodness, my little channel on the interweb for all things geeky and cool. And we have another action figure review we're taking a look at today, guys. This is the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series 6-inch scale Darth Revan figure. Now, I ordered this figure online only because my local retail stores didn't have any in stock. Targets, Walmart, Toys R Us. Even went to the mall for FYE, GameStops, even my specialty stores didn't have this in stock like my comic store I go to. No Darth Revans at all. He's extremely short packed, meaning it's about 1 or 2 per case and that's it. Now this character has a very, very long, rich history. He actually was not created part of Lucas. He was actually created in a part of a video game series called Knights of the Old Republic back in 2003. That's when this character actually made his debut from that video game. Now a lot of fans were basically at their wits' end because they wanted an actual action figure in the 6-inch scale. So come fast forward from 2003 to 2016 now, which is last year, Hasbro decided to have a poll for their fan-created figure. You would vote on a set of names and pick the one that you wanted to have the next set of Black Series figures. One of those figures would have been chosen as that actual winning figure, and Revan won the actual vote, basically by a landslide. He crushed everybody. So I'm really happy they actually made him into this figure. Now this figure came out about the end of December, beginning of January or so, and I had, like I said, had to get him online. Now as you saw in the thumbnail for this video, is this figure for 2017? That's a bold statement. So the only way we can actually say if this figure is the figure of the year is going into a breakdown. We're going to talk about the packaging, the articulation, the accessories, and come back at the end of the video with a big question to you, the viewer. Should you buy this figure, and is this figure the figure for 2017? Take care, guys. We're going to a breakdown. Okay guys, we're in our breakdown segment looking at the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series 6-inch scale Darth Revan figure. But the first thing we always do is look at the packaging. Really nice packaging, traditional Black Series packaging that we always see. The black box, black trim with the red insert, and of course the window box which showcases the figure inside. At the bottom it says, of course, Darth Revan. You have some artwork on the side which all Black Series figures have. On this side on the bottom you have Darth Revan, and of course you have the number 34 listed because the 34th figure in the Black Series. Now, on the back, it showcases some more artwork, the same picture we saw on the front, and a little write-up in different languages that talks about the actual figure. Now, if we pull the packaging aside, let's actually look at the figure itself. This is a really interesting figure, guys. There's a lot of good points and a lot of bad points. So let's actually talk about the figure, the way it looks. First, the appearance of it, the paint apps. They did a lot of solid paint on this figure, guys. The brown rustic mask, same colored breastplate. You have this long red trim, kind of it dangles off it like a I don't know, a tabard off the front of him. Off the front of the belt here. This is plastic right here in this piece. He also has 2 types of soft good materials. I want to bring that to your attention. He has this cloak that dangles off of his back, and there's holes in it, so it looks like he's been through a fight. It's very tattered. I like how it looks, and it is very, very soft material, this black material here. Now if we pull it up and out of the way, he actually has this robe underneath it, which is different material compared to this actual cloak. So he has 2 different types of soft good materials, the cloak and the robe, the bottom part of the robe rather, and I do like the way it looks there. He has a belt that kind of hooks around this little circle piece here, which we talked about, this little tabard piece that hangs down, and that piece kind of, if we move the cloak out of the way again, hooks around his back here. Even they have more brown, this rustic color in the back as well. Now let's actually look at his articulation. If we go to his head, let's look at the sculpt of his head sculpt first. That, again, we were talking about the brown mask, which looks really nice. The head sculpt, unfortunately, is a hindrance because this way this piece is sculpted for the hood, this cowl, is stiff. It's stiff plastic, so you cannot move the head much at all. There's very little movement inside this mask. You can move it a little bit side to side and a little bit up and down, but that's about all the movement you're going to get out of this. That being the case, because of the way this cowl looks, it also limits his articulation for his arms. He cannot spin his arm completely 360 because it's hampered by the end of this, kind of like this hooded pauldron, which gets in the way. So he has almost full range of motion, but not quite. He's almost there. Now, probably one of the biggest hindrances I would see on this figure, unfortunately, is that he does not have a double jointed elbow. That's about as much movement you can get out of his arm right there. This actually hinders his lightsaber poses that you can put the lightsabers in because he can only move his arm so far. You can twist it from side to side and swivel it, but having a double jointed elbow would have been very, very nice. His wrist, however, is on a ball joint, and it can spin 360, and it can bend. So I love how you have a lot of movement there. We talked about the paint apps on the chest. He does have a little bit of an ab crunch, as you can see here. And if we kind of move the cloak out of the way, I'll kind of put it up so we can see it here. You do see the robe coming down. A lot of adornment here. These little circles that are attached to his belt. I like the way they had the paint apps for that. That looks really nice. The legs do get hindered because of this robe. The way you can't get him into a full split. I mean, you can go about that far. I don't want to rip the robe any more than it already is kind of tattered to begin with. So that's about the most movement you can get. If we move the robe out of the way a little bit and go to his physical legs, I'll move his arms away and his cloak. He does support, if you look at these long, kind of heavy, high boots, he does have a double jointed knee. So the knee pad will move up, and you can see the pins for the actual knee itself. And he has no leg swivel here. The shin does not swivel. It does bend at the knee, but there's no swivel there. His feet, however, are on a ball joint, so you can get a lot of movement out of his feet. So I do like that you can get him in really nice poses because of that. So, I mean, besides the limited articulation, as far as his arms go, and the limiting of his legs a little bit by that robe, it's okay besides that point. Now, let's actually look at his accessories. He has two of them. He has two lightsabers, one that's red and one that's kind of a purplish color. Let's actually look at the red one first. A very nice looking blade. They actually did a lot of tooling on this hilt, as you can see here. They actually put a little bit of paint on here compared to the normal lightsabers we've seen in the past. Looking at, let's say, Kanan's or Ahsoka's, there's actually a lot of paint, a lot of black wash on this actual hilt itself. And I do like the way it looks. You can detach the hilt from the blade like all lightsabers do. So you have the red beam, of course, and you actually have the hilt here. So I do like the amount of paint they put on here. I mean, it doesn't look like there's a lot, but there's a lot of black wash on it, which gives it a lot of pop. So I do like the way it looks there. So we'll put the red blade back into the actual hilt. Let's actually look at the purple blade. It's a kind of light colored purple blade. Again, this one can be detached as well. This one has a little more tooling. This looks a little bit different, as you can see here. I'll kind of hold it this way so you can see. There's little prongs in the front. I don't know if you can see it really well here. There's little prongs in the front of it, so they have a lot of tooling, or even more tooling on this one than on that other red blade. So I like the way it looks. Not as much paint though, but they actually made it look completely different than this hilt. So I'll detach it here again, so you can see they're actually two different sculpted hilts. They're not the same hilt, as you can see. Completely different. And I do like how they look different from one another, and they're different colored blades. So let me put these back together again. And he can hold his blades. They're a little bit difficult to get in his hands at first. You have to kind of slide them in. So if we slide them into his hands, he does grip them as you slide them. They see me sliding in here. The purple one I usually put in his left hand. It kind of fits better from what I'm seeing. Oops, if I can get it in. Let me slide it again. There we go. And he would look something like this with his blades in his hands. Again, because of the articulation of that forearm, of that elbow, you can't really bend his wrist properly. I think that would be kind of a limitation here. For this figure to be figure of 2017, unfortunately, I don't think it is. I really wish it would have been. When I started playing with this figure and watched some other YouTubers' videos about it, they had the same complaint I had. You can only bend his arm, you know, so far, about 45 degrees. That's about as much movement as you can possibly get out of this hand. The hand itself spins. I mean, you can get full range of movement here, as you see me spinning it completely 360. So I do like how you can spin the wrist, but because of that elbow not bending a full range of motion, you're limiting a lot of your poses, unfortunately. But all in all, guys, I really like this figure. I think it's a phenomenal figure. I'm happy that it actually won the vote for Hasbro. And with that being said, guys, let's go to final thoughts and wrap up this video. Okay guys, final thoughts on the Star Wars Black Series Darth Revan 6-inch figure from Hasbro. I really like this figure, guys. I think they embodied Revan from the old video game in 2003 in an action figure form perfectly. This figure is a phenomenal figure. Is this figure of the year for 2017? Unfortunately, I have to disagree. There's a lot of shortcomings with this figure. The articulation we talked about in the breakdown is really limited with the elbows and the swivels on his wrist. I wish he would have had double jointed elbows. A lot of other reviewers have come across and said the same exact thing. That's a big negative in my opinion. They should have actually put that in. So, I mean, you can only get his arm to bend this far. I mean, maybe 45 degrees, if that. I think that is uncalled for in this day and age as far as action figures go. That's a bad shortcoming in my opinion. The other big one, of course, is the head. Because the way this is sculpted, as we talked about in the breakdown, his cowl, his hood, it limits his head movement. You can barely move the head at all. That's a bad shortcoming for me, but I love the soft goods robe. The under robe has a different fabric. The outer robe has the holes and the tatters in it, so I do love that figure as far as the costume itself goes. Now the big question is to you, the viewer, should you buy this figure? I say this is a buy. This is an absolute buy. Granted, the bad points with the articulation and the head, I can kind of push that aside a little bit. And just the way this figure is presented to the actual consumer, I love it. I think they nailed it here. Just a wish a little bit more articulation, but beside that, this is definitely a buy, guys. I hope you liked this video. Remember to click that big subscribe button at the bottom of the page. It will definitely help the channel going forward. We're still chasing the 1,000 subscriber contest. That giveaway will be, of course, for that Luke Skywalker lightsaber from the Black Series, speaking of the Black Series. So remember to click that button. Also, you have videos on the site so you can watch more of my videos, guys. Take care, of course, and bye-bye.